Hello everyone, my name is Eclipse, and in this video I will be sharing with you my plan for learning how to draw. A quick heads up before we begin, I'm a complete beginner who doesn't really know what I'm doing, so the purpose of this video is not to be a tutorial or to give anyone advice on how they should learn how to draw. This is more so just a video showing how I am personally learning how to draw. If you're looking for more of a professional's opinion on how you should learn how to draw, then sadly I don't think you're going to find that in this video. But if you're a beginner or you just want to see how another beginner is learning how to draw, then by all means, follow along. So after doing a bit of research, I came to understand that there's about 5 core steps to learning a new skill. And I just want to apply these steps to drawing. But everyone's different and learns at their own pace, so if these steps don't work for you, then by all means, try something else. Okay, so before we start, I feel like I should give a tiny disclaimer, which is to say that at the time of making this video, I am not a complete beginner. I have been drawing on and off for about a year or so now, and even before that, I used to dabble in drawing when I was younger, like grade school. I've always loved art, and I've always been creative and had a wild imagination. I would draw things like portraits or dragons or anything that I really liked at the time. But I never really studied anything like fundamentals like color theory or line art or anything like that. I also never studied anatomy or environments or anything like that. I just drew what I could see in reference photos, and that was about it. I was pretty good back in the day as well, but I eventually stopped. And when I started again like a year or so ago, I was only able to accomplish this.
Oh my God, what is that?
So you might ask why I wanted to get back into drawing after it had been so long since the last time I drew, and I think the answer to that question is the first step before we even begin these 5 steps of the learning cycle, which is like setting a goal. So I just want to answer that really quick. To keep it nice and short, I consider myself to be fairly introverted, and I like to get lost in realities outside of the one we live in today. I mainly do this through things like video games or watching movies, reading books, or anything that really allowed me to just get outside of the world. And I eventually decided that even though I like to dive into other people's worlds, I kind of wanted to create my own world. And since I used to draw, I figured that getting back into it would just be a perfect fit. I really just wanted to create my own stories and perhaps put some of them out there for others to see. But there was one small problem, and that was that I knew what I wanted to say, but I didn't know how to say it. And so that brought us to about a year ago when I picked up the pencil again and started drawing. And after that, I continued to dabble on and off for a few months, and I never really saw any progress. And that was because I failed in taking the first step into learning a new skill, which was to educate myself. You see, since I used to draw a long time ago and I was pretty decent without knowing what I was doing, I was under the assumption that if I just drew, I would eventually get back to where I was, even without doing any outside work. And as you can see, that didn't work out very well. I had to take time to educate myself. Step 1 to learning anything is to learn about the thing that you want to learn. Preparation is key when it comes to learning. In doing some research for this video, I found a quote that really resonated with me. It's a quote by Benjamin Franklin, who once said, "By failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail." I really felt this quote because I really felt like this was exactly what I was doing the entire time when I was just aimlessly drawing. By not educating myself and preparing for what I wanted to do, I failed in learning anything at all. So after about a year of seeing very little progress, I finally decided to start educating myself on the subject. So I started down the rabbit hole of YouTube tutorials. I don't have enough time in this video to go over everybody that I found since there's so many great teachers out there on the internet, but I can list a couple. I've been going through Procro's figure drawing course as well as his portrait drawing course. I've also found Michael Hampton's channel through Procro, and I ended up buying his book, Figure Drawing, Design and Invention. I've been going through that and it's been really, really helpful. As of right now, I've just finished the landmarks section, which I believe is only the 2nd chapter or so. But I've been going through everything super slow so that way I can actually take in the information. I also wanted to shop around for different styles that I liked, and I found a lot of cool artists. To list a few, I really like Sam Does Arts. style, as well as Ken Liu's or Art of 666K, and many others. So I've been making an active effort into gaining some knowledge, but this knowledge is nothing if I don't do anything with it. I have to put it into practice. I know the sound of this word might make some people a little queasy, but we do have to talk about practicing.
We talking about practice. Not a game. We talking about practice.
There is that saying that it takes 10,000 hours to master any skill, but for me, that 10,000 hours is going to take a long time because just like everyone else, I have a busy life. I have other interests. I try to be active. I work. I try to have a social life. So I don't really have 4, 3, or even 2 hours every day to dedicate to drawing, but I am able to find about 30 minutes, and that's all it takes. So I've set a goal of trying to at least sketch for a minimum of 30 minutes every day. Now, of course, this goal is pretty difficult, especially since I have no end date to it. So I've missed a day here or there, and I will probably miss some more days. But having the goal itself is the thing that motivates me. I strive to achieve it. I also continue my readings through Michael Hampton's book. I also follow along with other tutorials online, and I do other things as well, but I don't really consider that to be the practicing that I need for the half an hour to count. I have to actually put pencil to paper or pen to tablet, whatever I'm feeling in that day. And this practice can be anything. I try to do some gestures or an anatomy study or portrait or whatever I feel like. Since I'm also learning how to do digital art, because I used to just solely do pencil and paper, I'm trying to do more technical things as well, like learning how to blend, which is a very big struggle for me. I'm also trying to learn color theory because I just drew with a pencil and paper, so I don't know any color theory. So yeah, I'm trying to practice something every day for at least 30 minutes. Some days I can get more. And of course, after all this practice, we do have to put it to the test somehow, and that brings us to the next step. Although testing and practicing are clearly two different things, they can be hard to separate, especially when it comes to something as subjective as art. So I'd like to clarify my interpretation of the two. In the last section, practicing, I was talking about things like gestures or anatomy studies or quick sketches. Those are what I consider to be practicing. Testing myself is where I try to do it more like a completed piece and trying to put those skills that I was developing in the practice to actual use, to something that I feel comfortable with sharing, I guess. But again, this is my interpretation of practicing and testing. But I am a beginner. I have no idea what I'm doing. So who is to say that you can't practice by doing a complete sketch or a complete piece, masterpiece every time, or a gesture can't be your masterpiece. It's all really subjective, and it depends on who it is that's doing the practice and the testing. Although this isn't inherently a bad thing, since you can learn a lot by doing completed pieces every time if that works for you, it didn't work for me. I didn't like the quality of work that I was making, and it took me forever to do so. It would take me 2 to 3 hours to draw some simple figure with a terrible background, when in that same 2-3 hours I could get a dozen gestures, a dozen simple studies, or some other technical skills that I could be learning, like blending, since I'm learning how to digitally draw and all that stuff. So trying to make a complete masterpiece every time I set out to do something was actually counteractive for me personally, since there was other things that I could have been doing, and since I didn't like the quality of work that I was doing, it was just demotivating for me every time. I have defined them in a way that works for me, at least for the moment. If I can think of another way to practice or test myself, I'll give it a shot. Or if you guys can think of another way, then by all means, leave it down in the comments and I'll be sure to see it and give it a shot as well. But keeping this in mind, I am currently trying to do at least one completed piece every week or two. I want to try and post them somewhere for you guys to see, and that would bring us to the next stage. Although I can't decide what phase is the most important, I feel like this one has the higher likelihood of being overlooked. It's very easy to draw something and just not put it out there for others to see, but if you're really trying to get better at whatever skill that it is that you want to learn, then I don't see how you can do that without getting feedback. When it comes to myself, I find it very difficult for me to analyze my own work, especially since I'm a beginner and I don't know the things that's wrong with them. That's why I'm a beginner. So I'm trying to post things, and that's one reason why I'm making this video. If anyone out there sees this and has any feedback to help me get better, then by all means share it, and I will hopefully be able to implement it into my work. And not only will it help me get better as an artist, but it hopefully will also keep me consistent, knowing that I have someone out there that can help me get better. So if you like what I may have to offer, if you like what you're seeing right now, or you're excited to see what I may accomplish in the future, then hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and leave a comment down below. And although I find it difficult for myself to look back and analyze and critique my own work because I'm a beginner myself, in the making of this video, I have looked at most of the art that I've done in the past year or so, and I have been able to see quite a big improvement in the more recent weeks or months, and I'm very happy with it. I think that if you're able to look back at your old work and you're able to see the flaws in them, then that is a sure tell that you have gotten better. This will hopefully be a long journey, and there are many things that I want to learn. Right now, I've narrowed my field of focus down to drawing figures and portraits, and for the time being, I'm okay with that. Later, I want to be able to draw more than just that. I want to be able to draw things like animals, both real and mythical. I want to draw environments, magic, weapons, armor, and many more cool things. To do this, I'll probably have to apply the learning cycle to all of them, but for now I'm content with just drawing the figure and portraits, and I will probably just toss some small things in there like magic or something like that. And for this section, I'm just basically going to be jumping back into step 1 and trying to implement all the things that I learned throughout the other 4 steps into my future learnings. Even once you've learned a new skill and you've moved on to a new one, it's always a good idea to go back and refreshing yourself once in a while. And that's exactly what I plan on doing. I think the key for me is just to not get frustrated with this process. The whole concept of repetition just keeps you in the same spot, and I want to be progressing, so I don't want to get bored just doing the same thing over and over. I've already watched most of the tutorial videos like 5 times over before I moved on, but I guess that's why they call it the learning cycle, because you just keep repeating over and over and over again. As of right now, I'm finding ways to change it up. For example, I don't just do the same gestures every day. I try and find multiple gestures and try and do a whole bunch of different poses and whatnot. But sometimes I do try and do the same pose over and over to see if I can make it better. Every once in a while, I will come back to these lessons and try to work through them again. Not only will this help etch it into my memory, but hopefully I'll be able to implement some of the newer skills that I learned along the way into the lessons that I've already done and see if there's improvement or not. I hope that anyone out there listening to this and also wants to learn how to draw has picked up something from this video, and maybe even motivated you a little bit to go and follow a tutorial or pick up a pencil and paper and doodle a little bit. Just do something. It doesn't have to be for very long, and it doesn't have to be good. It's just starting the thing that you want to do is the first step. Speaking of which, I have not done my 30 minutes of sketching today, so I'm going to get out of here and go do that. I'll hopefully see you guys in the next video. I don't know what I'm going to be doing just yet, but I will be doing something. So until then, happy drawing.